Good evening, everybody. We're going to get started with the March 10th Council work session. And if you don't know it already, there's 3 items on the agenda. And the first one is we're going to discuss among ourselves, the council, our upcoming goal-setting process. It's slated for 30 minutes. It's a very structured conversation. Maybe we'll be able to finish that a little bit sooner. Follow that, we'll have a discussion about the interlocal agreement that the City of Issaquah is working on in conjunction with the Sammamish Plateau Water and Sewer District. And following that will be our discussion about Klahani. We expect the third part, Klahani, to be the most elastic part of the schedule. Hence, we want to have the most time available without pressure to get to our other items. So thank you for attending. Council, you ready to get started? So, Mary Lou and Nina are about to go through their first council goal-setting process. And over the last few months, Deputy President Goodman and I have been taking a close look at the process. And tonight, we're going to introduce what we're going to do for the next 60 days and answer any questions that you may have. And just as a matter of introduction, again, I know Josh and Tola and Eileen and Stacy are very familiar with this. For Nina and Mary Jo's purpose, really the goal setting, the purpose of this annual goal setting session is for the council to set a strategic direction and priorities for the city in the coming years. During this process, the council, that's us, of course, the mayor's office and the city staff partner to discuss strategic needs of the city and identify programs and projects that will guide the city toward achieving its ultimate vision. So just a real basis, it's just a review, I know that, but just to get our heads in this. We do this every year, and we haven't given it any thought for almost a year. Now, there's a couple things we're going to be talking about that might sound a little bit different, and here are the highlights. One of the things we're going to do is really work to identify goals and discuss goals that are based upon what we're calling the existing city visioning documents. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. In the short time that I've been on the council, there's been conversations, about the duration of our goals and objectives. And one of the things that we're really going to encourage this year that we think much bigger and strategically, and that 1 year, maybe it's a 2-year, 3, 5, or longer type goal. We really think that for the best interests of the city, that we as a council, to be most effective, should be working to identify and should be able to propose and discuss goals that go beyond just 1 year to define and implement. We're going to strongly encourage collaboration among council members. We know that we collaborate in the past, we got together on what we call the retreat, and we would collaborate and maybe collapse 1 or 2. There's almost that's inevitably what happens. And we're actually going to encourage that collaboration to happen before, or actually perhaps during the formation of your council goals. Just as an example, Stacy and I have been talking. We've had the opportunity because we formed this, but to maybe collaborate on something related to transportation. And the idea is that if you were to work together with some of your peers, and that when we get to the point of actually reviewing them and voting on them, they'll be that much better vetted, and hopefully something that the rest of the council is really interested in. And then finally, a little bit different, we're going to separate the process a little bit. The actual review, where we go over all of the goals that have been proposed and the staff's response, we're going to do that in one meeting, and then later on we're going to get together and actually go through the selection process. So let's take a look at the calendar really quick. Today is the kickoff. And then 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to have our quarterly committee of the whole. And that's where we're going to get a staff update. That's not unlike what we've done during the first part of the retreat in years past. So for example, a current year financial update, an update on the current council goals and their status. We're planning on getting a presentation of the SWOT analysis completed by the Economic Vitality Commission, a presentation to us. And that'll be another opportunity for us also, because we're together discussing it, perhaps identify opportunities for collaboration among one or two or three council members on a goal that appears to be of mutual interest. So we're going to get that update at the COW in 2 weeks. Then a month from today, our submittals are due. Then the traditional 3 weeks for the staff to prepare their responses. They'll be due on May 2nd. Then 2 weeks from tonight, at the work session from tonight, we're actually going to do, I'm sorry, Stacey? Sorry. 2 months from tonight at the work session we're going to actually go over them. We're going to at least discuss them. Each council member or groups are going to actually kind of present their goals. It's not, the intent isn't to do the full vetting like we have traditionally done in the retreat, but it's to do our initial presentation. So that's on a Tuesday night. And then 5 days later on Saturday the 17th, we'll be gathering off-site to complete the process and ultimately select our goals for the year. So that's the schedule, and we'll I'll show it again at the end. A word about these visioning documents. The city is best served when the chosen goals are aligned with existing priorities, goals, and vision for the city. This assures that each goal is grounded in a basis already determined to be of significant importance to the city. The following documents all contain city goals and objectives. Newly proposed goals should include one or more references back to one of these documents, just as an agenda bill includes references to the comprehensive plan. Council members, we may all have to refamiliarize ourselves with these documents in order to complete this part of our goal submission. Next we're going to kind of go over the form. It hasn't changed much, but it's going to be an opportunity to show what we mean by the references to the guiding documents. And so real quick, I'm going to toggle over. It doesn't look, the only thing I want to bring your attention to is we're going to have this area of the categories in there. Not a big deal. One of the reasons this isn't finalized, we'll finalize and get this out to you. We really want to settle on the categories, but it's just another way of kind of checking in if I'm doing something on mobility, if I'm doing something on financial sustainability, just to categorize it, a very simple piece. But another piece, Stacey has been doing quite a bit of research on different cities and how they've done their goal setting as well, and we've come upon something that we think is a slight change to what we've done in the past, and it's this area called why the goal. Why this goal? Stacey, you want to comment on that?
Sure. Well, as Paul mentioned, I have done quite a bit of research on how other cities conduct their goal setting, and I've come upon something that time and time again I found it similar cities do things similar ways, and one way they do things is they have a why this goal, or they might call it something else, but it's basically the why, and it usually talks about where we are now at this time in the city and what we have going on and what we have coming up in the future, and it provides a little bit of a backdrop for the reason about why the goal here, why the goal is being proposed. And the reason for that is because goal setting should be sort of strategic planning, and so if you're able to put the why this goal, then it gives everybody an opportunity to see maybe why this is important to have at this time. So that's kind of why you have the why the goal.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
On the categories, could we include an other? I did notice, for instance, environmental sustainability initiatives. I mean,
yeah,
theoretically, it could be under open space, but.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. And that's one of the reasons it's not finalized, that we haven't really vetted that. It was, when I wrote down open space, I was thinking that, but we should make that more clear. Any other questions about that part? Okay, the next part in this example is to do with the references to the guiding documents. And I just wanted to show you what that looks like. So like the agenda bills have entries where there notes their consistency with the comprehensive plan. We're doing the same kind of thing. And the comprehensive plan is a collection of objectives and policies, excuse me. So I just pulled one example. It's straight out of an existing agenda bill, 6759, which we approved a week ago tonight. It had to do with the allocation of our portion of the Arch Housing Trust Fund. And so there's a direct reference in there. And so that's what that would look like. Now, you may have multiple, like many times our agenda bills do. The next document on here is the Economic Vitality Task Force Strategic Plan from 2006. Now, interesting thing about that document, it was accepted by the council. It was never formally adopted, but as we reviewed that, it is striking how many of the priority actions our city has already achieved. And so whether we know it or not, there is a basis of consideration. There was a lot of good work in there, and if you come up with a goal and can find a basis for it in that document, the idea is to highlight it here. And then the last one is the City Issaquah Vision Statement from 1990. That was the last time when Rowan Hines was mayor that the city went through a very exhaustive exercise and identified, our current motto of a special place where people care. There's a vision statement, and there are items in there called guiding principal goals. This is only like a 3-page document, and the idea, if again we have a proposing a goal that aligns with something that has already kind of been determined as expressing the priorities and goals of the city and being able to reference it here. Again, the idea is that we would then be coming forth with goal proposals that are really well aligned with these guiding documents that we have. Now, it's possible you may have multiple references. Maybe you want to propose something and you can't find a single reference. And I don't want to dissuade that. That might be a suggestion that we have a gap somewhere. And I think we all should be open to that. But indeed, if you refamiliarize yourselves with the documents, you might find that that is very helpful. Now, the last part, yes, Josh?
One other question. If it's possible to have some of these documents emailed to all of us so that we don't have to hunt them down.
I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
Absolutely. We're going to make it drop dead easy.
When I type 1990 vision statement Issaquah into Google, I get iCare.
Okay. So, yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to put it all together in one place where everybody can get to that.
Thank you.
Now, the other item that's on here is called action items. And again, I'm going to ask Stacy to say a few things about that. But rather than just looking at this form up here, we have actually an example in the presentation. Stacy?
Sure. Again, this came out of the research I did with other cities, and it was very typical for cities to not only have a goal, but then to have the action items or the action steps that needed to be taken to actually achieve that goal. And they're always called action items or action steps or implementation steps or something. And they're called that because those are actually the specific steps that need to be taken to achieve the goal. And they're very specific, not that slide yet. I mean, not the next one yet, just leave it.
Tell me when.
I will.
Okay.
And they're very specific because it needs to be clear to everyone just how the goal would be achieved. And as I was working through this, I actually kind of worked through some myself and found out that it really was a valuable process to try to identify those steps, because it tells you a number of things when you're working through those steps or trying to work through naming those steps. It tells you whether the goal is actually achievable, and it tells you whether the goal is clear and also whether it's measurable. That so said, it can also be a very challenging exercise because there's no real magic process. What we've tended to do in the past is come up with these brilliant goals. And that's meant to be a joke. And then we would tend to leave it to the administration or the staff to figure out how we're going to achieve those goals. And I myself have had meetings with staff, maybe after a goal has been adopted by the council, and the conversation is about, well, how do you envision we're going to get there? Well, I didn't really know. And I found that to be very informative as I'm working through these now, and now I know why, because it's difficult to figure out how you're going to achieve a goal, but yet we are wanting staff to achieve those goals. But like I said, there's no real magic process for figuring out how you're going to get there. So let's go ahead and show the.
Okay, so this is
the first.
You can maybe guess at, gee, how would you actually achieve this? And this is an example that's pulled out of the City of Burlingame, California's document, and it did include a number of action items.
So if I can recall Burlingame, it might be that their strategy might. I'm not sure exactly. Every city does a little bit differently. They have their visions and they have their goals and they have their strategies, so they might call it a strategy and a goal. The words don't really matter. They had identified the need to maintain and enhance Burlingame's high-quality services that meet the needs of the community. okay, so if you just look at that by yourself, well, how are you going to do that? Well, I know one year the council decided it was really important to explore technology to enhance efficiency and communications. Okay, well, if you just look at that by itself, you can see how you need to sit around and figure out how you were going to do that. But if you take it one step further and you identify how you're going to get there, you can see the action items there, and all of them are action items. They say exactly what they're going to do. They're going to tape and stream online more public meetings, install and implement agenda management software, and on and on and on. And each one of those is very specific, and each one of those is measurable. And you can call it the to-do list of the goal. There could be a little box in front of each one of those numbers, and as it's achieved, it's checked off. And it just makes it clear to everyone, the council, the staff, and the public, how the city is going to achieve the goals. And so that's the point of the action items. And as we work through, if you have a goal and you're trying to identify what the action items might be, and you can't find one, it might be that you've identified a project and not a goal. Or if you come up with tons of steps and you look at that again, you might have maybe bitten off a goal that needs to be pared down a little bit or broken down into different goals. So it's a very instructive exercise.
And my sense too is this is where collaboration, especially if you discover that 2 or more of you, up to 3 of you, do share an interest in a particular topic, where this could be very helpful. And I don't know at this point, because we were limited to work with one other person, we did a little trial run with this with Mary Lou. Mary Lou, do you have any comment? I know I didn't prepare you ahead of time, but.
It's on.
Yeah, don't touch it.
Yeah, I like the exercise quite a bit, and actually I had the opportunity last year to sit and watch the council retreat and see how the goal process worked. And it was very interesting to start my own exercise and come up with a trial goal, and then sit down and follow these steps, because I think I told you both, the first one I picked, I actually blew up within a few minutes and realized that what I'd picked was it wasn't necessarily a concrete goal, it was more of a good idea, and then I couldn't flesh it out after. So I did move into another one looking at affordable housing, and once I was on the right track of starting with the big goal and coming down through the why and the references to our other documents and all the rest, it was quite easy actually to get to the bottom of something with something very concrete. So I thought it was a great exercise, it was a good test run, and this is a great approach.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? We're just about to wrap up. Okay, so what's still to come? So the form that I showed you is incomplete. I knew the categories is some vetting. I'm going to give you, we'll finalize that very soon. And we've asked the administration actually to create a special page on the website for this. So much of the material that we have here, but also to explain the purpose for the goals, the update information that we're going to get in 2 weeks could be there. And so, Josh, this will be the location. Well, the comp plan is there, but the Economic Vitality Task Force from 2006 and the City Vision from 1990, we'll make sure they're all accessible there. And another thing that in her studies that Stacy found that I thought was really compelling as well is that this is really a good opportunity, and with modern social media and our website, we've asked the staff to put together a web page where we actually can solicit and receive input from the community through the process. So we have some formation ideas about this, for example, what might you think, what's the priority items in your mind? And Stacy, what would be the other one off the top of your head? Do you remember?
Well, highest priorities the council should be working on, the city should be working on, and maybe what do you think the most important thing is the city should be working on?
So the idea of
continuing
in this theme that we've had, we started within the last year, really reaching out and connecting, with, residents of Issaquah and our guests, that to extend that and to help them, contribute their voice to this very critical information process that we're going through. So last slide, just a reminder. In 2 weeks with the COW, we'll get the update. March 11th, which is a Friday, our submittals will be due. 3 weeks later, the staff responses will be due. And then 2 months from tonight, we'll be going over every one of these submittals. And again, the offsite, the details. We have the date. I think we did a save the date already, so we know everybody's available on the 17th. Any other questions? We good? All right. Thank you for that. Now, so.